What's up, Taiwan? I'm Eric Gao. Thanks for joining us for the news. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has made his first public address since surviving an assassination attempt 5 days ago. Speaking at the Republican National Convention, Trump formally accepted the presidential nomination, addressed the attempt on his life, and took aim at Democrats. Rosie Greninger reports.
A roaring crowd greets former U.S. President Donald Trump as he takes the stage at the Republican National Conference in Milwaukee, just days after surviving an assassination attempt. After officially accepting the Republican Party's presidential nomination, Trump predicted an incredible victory in the upcoming November election, before reflecting on the attempt on his life at a rally in Pennsylvania.
My hand was covered with blood, just absolutely blood all over the place. I immediately knew it was very serious, that we were under attack. The amazing thing is that prior to the shot, if I had not moved my head at that very last instant, the assassin's bullet would have perfectly hit its mark, and I would not be here tonight. We would not be together.
Many in the crowd wore a bandage on their ear in support of the former president, whose ear was grazed by the would-be assassin's bullet. They listened as Trump continued to espouse a more unifying message than he'd done previously, saying that under his leadership, the US be launched into a new era of safety, prosperity, and freedom for, quote, citizens of every race, religion, colour, and creed. Trump's address caps a week of speeches at the RNC, all of the high-profile speakers building a case for the 78-year-old former president to return to the White House. But Trump later shifted away from talk of unity, reiterating his hardline immigration rhetoric and attacking Joe Biden's Democratic Party.
And we must not criminalize dissent or demonize political disagreement, which is what's been happening in our country lately at a level that nobody has ever seen before. In that spirit, the Democrat Party should immediately stop weaponizing the justice system and labeling their political opponent as an enemy of democracy. Especially since that is not true. In fact, I am the one saving democracy for the people of our country.
Meanwhile, pressure within the Democratic Party is mounting for President Joe Biden to stand down after the 81-year-old's poor showing on a televised debate and his recent COVID diagnosis. According to US media reports, former President Barack Obama expressed concerns to fellow Democrats about the viability of Biden's campaign for re-election, while former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi reportedly warned Biden in private that Democrats could lose control of the US Congress under his leadership, which could then allow Trump to set his right-wing agenda in motion. Pelosi has since said any conversations she's had with Biden have been misrepresented, but the calls from his own party for the president to withdraw from the race are increasing.
I think the recent polling was something like 3/4 of polled Democrats would like to see Biden step down.
But Biden has remained adamant, saying he can beat Trump again. The two went head-to-head in the 2020 election, with Biden beating the then-incumbent Trump by a slim majority. But with weeks to go until the Democratic Party nomination, high-level Democrats continue to make a critical push for Biden to reevaluate his re-election bid, as unease grows among the party about the president's ability to secure a second term. Scott Huang and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Foreign Minister Ling Jialong says Taiwan can only depend on itself in the face of China's threat to invade. This comes just days after former U.S. President Trump made negative comments about Taiwan, raising some doubt about Washington's support if the Republican candidate wins November's elections. Joyce Sung reports from the Foreign Ministry.
Just as former U.S. President Donald Trump speaks at the Republican National Rally here in Taipei, Foreign Minister Ling Jialong says that Taiwan needs to rely on itself. Responding to Trump's recent comments that Taiwan needs to pay for U.S. defense support, Ling says that Taiwan is not opportunistic and has been continuing to increase its defense budget. Taipei already buys billions of dollars worth of arms from Washington and has raised its defense spending to its highest rate yet at 2.5% of GDP. Despite these hits from the Republican presidential candidate, the foreign minister maintains confidence that Taiwan and U.S. relations are strong and have bipartisan support. He says regardless of whether it's President Biden or former President Trump, there is consensus that China is a threat.
其实大家应该有共识，就是中国的威胁。从台湾开始民主化以来，这30几年，我们都是常常独立面对中国的威胁，文攻武吓，各种现在的混合战，我们从来不会侥幸依靠别人。
2 months into his post, Foreign Minister Ling says he's been spending time with each of Taiwan's 12 diplomatic allies to understand the future vision for these relationships. Under political and economic coercion from Beijing, Taiwan has lost 10 allies since 2016 when the ruling Democratic Progressive Party's Taoyuan took office. Ling says relations with the 12 remaining allies are stable at this point, and given the country's competitive advantage in several critical sectors like semiconductors, AI, and defense tech, Taiwan has a crucial role to play in global supply chains. And Ling says there are active cooperations ongoing with allies and also non-official partners like Japan, India, the Philippines, among others. So a lot of projects in the works here to share Taiwan's tech and talent to ensure its place on the world stage regardless of what happens in Washington and Beijing. Joseph Wu and Joyston in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
The city of Taoyuan is cracking down on corruption as its former mayor faces charges of taking bribes while in office. A court has released Yang Zhaoling, the 90-year-old former boss of Formosa Plastics Group, on bail of $460,000 in connection with that case. Meanwhile, City Councilor Zhang Zhaoliang of the ruling DPP, he has been denied bail in a separate case of influence peddling over zoning and building codes. China's third plenum, a closely watched gathering of top Communist Party leaders, has wrapped up with few specific measures designed to address the country's economic difficulties. Analysts had been calling for bold reforms to boost China's slowing economy. But the result of the plenum indicates a more conservative approach, centered on what the party calls high-quality development, meaning high-tech manufacturing and local industry. The meeting is held twice a decade and is one of the key chances for leadership to set out their economic vision for the country. The EU Parliament has voted to re-elect Ursula von der Leyen as president of the EU Commission, giving her a second 5-year term. Outlining her platform, von der Leyen said that she would seek to deter China from changing the status quo with Taiwan by military means. She also recognized the Indo-Pacific as a key region for the world's future. As for Europe, she said defending democracy is the key issue facing the bloc.
Our democracy is under attack from inside and from outside, and therefore it is crucial that the democratic forces stand together to defend our democracy.
Tears of joy outside South Korea's Supreme Court after a landmark ruling for LGBTQ+ rights. The top court has ruled that same-sex couples should receive the same health insurance benefits as heterosexual couples. The case was filed in 2021 after this same-sex couple's spousal benefits were canceled. Although the pair had a wedding, their marriage is not legally recognized in South Korea. The court ruled that denying them benefits was discrimination. The ruling is final and cannot be appealed. A landslide in southern India has killed at least 6 people and several others are missing. Heavy rain in Karnataka state triggered the collapse on a national highway, sweeping people and vehicles into a river. Rescuers are searching for the missing people, but rising water levels are hampering efforts. India's weather department says heavy rainfall is expected to continue until the weekend. Students from Hong Kong and Macau are increasingly choosing to build careers here in Taiwan after they graduate. As John Van Trieste reports, that's partly thanks to changes to the system that determines who can stay.
Feng Suk-man visits a former professor with good news. She's found a job in Taiwan, and she's part of a trend. This Hong Kong native is one of a growing number of people from the city coming to study in Taiwan and staying after graduation. Labor Ministry data shows up to 30% of students who come to Taiwan from the Chinese territories of Hong Kong and Macau choose Taiwan as the launch point for their careers.
现在立马回去原本的原居地，就觉得好像有点可惜，所以就想说啊，留在这边试试，也许可能未来会留下来，还不知道。
The universities bringing in these students say that while Taiwan isn't perfect, it has its attractions.
台湾的薪水跟港澳比起来，其实相对来讲是比较低的，但是整个工作环境或者是生活的环境是比较 friendly 的，所以他们可能还可以缓冲一下。
There are a range of sectors that are especially popular with these students, from the service, retail, and hospitality sectors to ICT and medicine. And school job fairs make it possible to have a job lined up before graduation. But there's one more big reason why Hong Kong and Macau students are staying: changes to the point system that determines who can stay in Taiwan. Crackdowns on freedom have sparked a mass exodus of Hong Kongers in recent years. But nearby Taiwan hasn't been especially welcoming, with no refugee law and suspicions of Chinese spies. For students, though, the path to residency is clearer, and reforms have made it easier than ever to stay, with more ways to earn points.
实习的一个项目也可以采集，新增的就是如果有领奖学金的话，那配点20点，总分也从190点松绑到200点。
The government is especially keen to get students training as social workers and financial service providers to stay and fill much-needed positions as Taiwan's population ages and shrinks. Andy Xue and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwanese canoeist Lai Guanjie has been breaking records and boundaries, becoming the country's first Olympian in his sport. With just 1 week to go before the start of the Paris Olympics, reporter Wesley Lewis looks at how Lai is preparing.
Lai Guanjie is Taiwan's first Olympic canoeist. He has spent months gearing up to represent his country at this year's Games in Paris. Every morning before he even starts canoeing, he warms up with a 3-kilometer run.
就真的很不爱跑步，然后也不爱做那些有氧啊，有氧对我来说就很无聊。然后，但是这个也是慢慢磨我的耐性啊，因为1000公尺最多的就是你要稳住。
Athletes like Lai rely on endurance training to reach new levels in their sport. His coach says he has made a lot of progress, but it's taken some time to get to where he is now.
研究大概半年或1年的周期，慢慢下去调整，然后到他状况可以进入长距离的训练，我们再带入一些课表下去，一直做训练到现在。其实那也不是短时间，大概花了3-4年才有现在的状况。
Lai says being the first Olympic canoeist from his country has put more weight on his shoulders, but he's determined to work through the added pressure.
也被到很多人重视，很被关注，然后会有点压力之类的。但我觉得，每个运动员都会面对就是压力。对，我觉得我们不能因为有压力，然后去失常。
Lai carries more than just the burden of his newfound fame. The athlete's mother passed away before she could see him hit this major milestone. He promised her that he would strive for excellence in his sport and one day make it to the Olympics. To this day, he still sends her text messages to report on his progress.
习惯这种对话，让自己比较有安心啊，怎样的。
After winning gold at the Hangzhou 2022 Asian Games, Lai got a tattoo of a lion.
这只是代表勇气，然后对我来讲，就是面对每一个挑战都需要去用勇气去面对它，不是去逃避还是去放弃它。然后皇冠就是代表，就是在每一个挑战中，我都能胜者为王。
With just 1 week to go before this year's Summer Olympics begin, Lai is determined to put everything he has into competing with the best of the best in his sport. And as he continues to blaze a trail for his country, his fans and followers at home will be watching to see if he brings home the gold for Taiwan. Andy Xue and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for joining us here on What's Up Taiwan. Find more of our stories on the TaiwanPlus website or get our app for updates on your device. Finally, check out the Palestine Youth Orchestra performing a concert in Amman, Jordan, focused on the war in Gaza. I'm Eric Gao. Take care. We'll see you next time.
For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, please visit us at TaiwanPlus.com.